Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. This is Joe speaking here, and today we're going to try to create a little Easter magic on the dining room table. So as you can see, I still have this set up. This was an in-between quickie little thing that I did between winter and spring. I decided to get a little bit of greenery going on in the room. I've been infusing a lot of green into the room. So I was hesitating on what I wanted to do here because I had two choices. I was going to do like a beautiful pot in the middle with these big stems, or I was going to do something whimsical. So what I decided to do was, after pricing out the stems that I wanted, I didn't want to spend that money right now. So I decided, well, let me go with the whimsical thing because I have some pieces that I would be able to use. You know, it's always a problem because what happens is, like, I want to be creative and I want to be different, and I want to go out of the box, but that's not what people expect. You know, a lot of people that are creative or artists, a lot of my artist friends have the same problem because they want to create something new and different. But people have a preconceived notion of what a particular thing should be. So for Easter, a lot of people have that notion in their head what they want to see. So if you go off track from that, it's not going to go over well, or people just don't understand what you're trying to do. So, you know, like outside, if you caught my video for the window, I did something very typical: rabbits, carrots, flowers, things like that, what people expect to see. So I guess that's what I'm going to do here, even if I am borrowing from some of the ideas that I've used in the past. So I'm going to try to create some kind of whimsical garden that might make somebody smile, might make somebody happy, and something that might make me happy and not want to change it in the morning, which I do very often. I create something and I come down the steps after, you know, a night's sleep, and I look at it and I'm like, no. So I'm going to try to create something along with you. I didn't, like I said, I really didn't give it much thought. And since I don't think I'm going to be going outside the box on this, it's something that, you know, might make you smile, hopefully. All right, so let's see if we can create some magic or some whimsy or some fantasy. There's a good word. Starting by putting this carpet here. This is actually 3 pieces because I've been using it all over the place and I'm running out of it. So it's a little bit lopsided. I might have to just this edge right here, but you're not even really going to notice it. So I'm going to start here with this round piece in the middle of the table. Now remember, this is not for a dinner party. This is just for, like a vignette, a fantasy, whimsy, magic, whatever you want to call it. All right, so I straightened out that edge over there. Just a little hint: if you're working with this stuff, don't put your vacuum away because it constantly, especially if you're cutting it, it makes a mess. Okay, so it's time to begin creating. And you know, it's a weird thing because as somebody creative or an artist, what happens is that you want to change things up. You want to make something new and different, even if you're using the same materials that you've used before, like as I am in the past. And I have a lot of artist friends, and they face the same thing all the time because you know what happens? People want to see what they want to see because they're passing through or they're passing by, and you know, they're not concentrating on you being different, especially for a holiday. People have preconceived notions of what should be out for a holiday. So it's always a problem for me because I keep thinking, oh, I don't want to repeat that again, or I don't want to do that. That's so predictable. But you know, that's what people want. So it's a fine line for you creative people out there that are watching this. What do? How do you make something different to satisfy your own creative needs, yet conform to the idea of what people think the decor should be for that particular holiday? So let's face it, right now, during Easter, what do people want to see? Bunnies and carrots and, you know, stuff like that, which is what I did in my bay window. I did the bunnies, I did the carrots on the front door, I did bunny, I did flowers, I did butterflies, I did stuff that people think is traditional for the holiday. Because if you don't do that, especially to the outside world, they'll be like, what what's going on over there. So anyway, how am I going to create something different, creative, yet, you know, conform? Let's see. I'm thinking hard for you and me. First thing I'm going to put in here is a Christmas wreath. Now, hopefully it will not be looking like a Christmas wreath soon, but I need it as a base for what I'm planning to do around here. Now, I'm going to put something in there to act as a riser. I'm using that glass bowl, and yeah, it has the tag on it, but I'm not going to go through the pain of taking that tag off because what I'm putting there is going to cover it. So we're not going to worry about that right now because that could be another half hour doing that. So I know people that know me knew that this is what was coming here because I've used this in the past. I was lucky I found this. This is an FAO Schwartz piece, which I just looked up again on Google, and it's still $69. I think originally I saw it for $89, but you can still get it for $69. But I found it in TJ Maxx, and you can see the price there was $24.99, but I actually got it for $19.99. So I thought it was a bargain I couldn't pass up, and I think it's adorable and cute, and that's what's going to go on top of that glass bowl in there. All right, so there it is, up on top of this. I'll cover this later, but what I want to start doing now is I want to start creating this like into a garden, more garden kind of a look, and get away from that Christmas wreath look. I have these, I only have two of these, but I think I can spread them out, and I chose these because they're a light green color. And you know, when the leaves first come out in the spring, they're not that dark green, they're a lighter green. So I think this will give it a lightness and a more spring kind of a feel. All right, so I put those in. I have to go upstairs and look for some more of these lightish green kind of leaves. I put the light green leaves in, and then I added in these boxwood here and in the back, which has a slight shimmer to it. And then I added in a vine. Now, I don't want it to look, I also added in a fern over there and a fern over there. I don't want it to get too Jungle Book looking. So, you know, I'm going to wait now. I'm going to add in some color. Spring is color, right? And we have a lot of green accents going on in this room. And what goes great with green? Lilac. So I have some lavender picks, and I'm going to start inserting those into this garden around the bunnies. I added in the lavender, and then what I did was I had to add another riser, and I chose this cake stand with these crystals around the outside, and you'll see why in a second. It'll tie into something else I'm going to do. But the base of the rabbits were too wide, so I had to put a book there for now, and then I'll hide that. But this is where we are right now. And the next thing I added in a complementary color were these right here, which they resemble tulips. I know they're not tulips because they're too small, or maybe they are tulips. I really don't know what they are, but anyway, they look like tulips, and that's like an iconic flower for Easter. And I added some eggs right at the base of the rabbits right there. So I think the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm thinking I might put a boxwood wreath here and one on the other side and do a little something in there. I'm going to see how that looks. So I'm creating it with you right now in this time. I added a wreath on each end. I don't know yet. I'm thinking about it, but they're there for now. I made these a few years back, and I think I'm going to use them. Well, right now I think I'm going to use them. So actually what it is a PVC pipe, which you can see right here. And then what I did was I put joint compound on the outside, and then I took a fork and I dragged it through the joint compound to give it this textured kind of appearance. I then painted it gray, brown, and black to mimic what the bark of a tree would kind of look like. Then I cut this piece out of cardboard here, and I just hot glued it to the top, and then I painted it so it kind of looked like, you know, when you cut through a tree and you see the rings of the tree. It's only one ring. And then I did this with just some paint, brown paint. Did the beige first, and then I made the circle. I made that color lighter in there. You know, when you're going to do something like this, take a look at what the real thing looks like, and then it's easier to mimic it, you know, to your liking. So I have this one as a higher one, and I have a lower one, because what I'm thinking is I'm going to have something in there, 3 tiers, one on the table itself, then one on the lower level, and then one on a higher level. So inside each wreath and on top of those risers that I just showed you that I made to look like tree trunks, I'm going to put these, which I made a few years back. You might have caught it. So let me explain how I did this if you want to recreate it, because I don't know if that video is still up, but it might be somewhere. Anyway, first thing I did was I got one of these tea light holders from the Dollar Tree, and I painted it. You can see the bottom I painted a darker green, and it goes up into a lighter green. It's supposed to mimic the stem of the tulip. Then I took an egg, one of these plastic eggs right here, and I painted the whole thing this lilac kind of a color. Then I took my paintbrush and I double loaded it, meaning that on the tip, it had a darker color, the purplish, and then a lighter color, lilac. And then I dragged it along each side like that to make the inner petals. Those are right on top of the egg itself. Then with a poster board that was also from the Dollar Tree right here, what I did was I cut those in the shape of the petals, and I did the same technique. I painted them double loaded with the darker purple and the lighter lilac, and I did those like that, and then I hot glued them into the around the base of the egg, and then I filled in with smaller ones, you can see on each side. Then to finish it off, I got some pick, which is also from the Dollar Tree, and I took it apart and I just hot glued the leaves all around the bottom to hide that transition between the petals and the stem, which was the tea light holder. So, I mean, it adds to the whimsical nature of this piece, and yet it is creative, and it could be a talking point that someone who is interested in them, or makes a comment about them, it's a point of interest. So I'm going to use these. I have 6 of them. I'm going to use 3 in each one of those wreaths on each side of that big centerpiece. All right, so to finish off the fantasy of this vignette, I decided to hang these. Now, I know I use them during Christmas time as ice droplets, but they also double duty as raindrops. So what I did was I have these crystal beads, which I got I'm trying to think where I got them. I don't know if Marianne got them online for me, or I got them at the Dollar Zone a few years back, and I cut them into strips. And we had this old light fixture. I took off all the crystals from it, and I used them in a variety of different things. And all I did was I used floral wire. You see it right there, to attach it to the the beads. And then I used another piece of floral wire up on the top to make a hook. And then what I do is I just hook it up onto the chandelier, so it gives a cascading rain effect down onto the bunnies with the umbrellas. Okay, so let's take a look at the whole thing. Thanks for stopping by today. Don't forget, Please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment, more than 7 words. Okay, everybody, take care, bye-bye.